have lost all respect in words. Like, what is going on? Something is not. Something is definitely not. You gotta know what I feel in a sense. Unless there is something like I thought of a hologramish type thing is, but I'm like, what do I keep seeing out the corner of my eye? And why is it not seeming to, I don't know. I'm like kind of concerned. I've already stated what probably should happen, right? I really have. I was thinking that whatchamacallit would be the best bet to for people to be honest, accept consequences, if any. I mean, like, you could just make sure that things, and I've said this before, aren't necessarily bad on both accords. If doing wrong, flat out, and I mean that is kind of doing wrong. It's not gonna say it hasn't been, but there's there's things to atone. Kind of like I told the lady back in Georgia, I was like, because she asked me, would I be mad if somebody, if you went through a type of, I don't know, gave you like an experiment or something, right? Like, I forgot how she stated it. I was thinking to myself, like, because we were talking about how something seemed to not read or pick up. I was like, oh, it's cool. No, I mean, as long as it kind of worked, why would you be mad? You know what I mean? Like, why would. Now, the other stuff is relative to other people. And you kind of atone for what you've done. And you do it the right way. Like, you really don't do it the wrong way. And I'm sitting there looking at people like, as we're at that place, and I want to ask somebody, but I'm just like, I'm kind of tired of asking people, like, do you hear that? What is that about? What are you responding to? Like this morning, I asked before I left upstairs because I thought a series of thoughts to get somebody to say something. I was like, oh, even made a few sounds. And I was like, is the other person kind of chiming in? It kind of sounded like it. I was like, oh, shit. Like, they might get what I'm doing. And I kind of turned around, like, I want to ask you, but then I'm like, should I ask you? Like, are you going to? I think it kind of said, did you hear? They really didn't reply. So I'm like, okay. I mean, sort of, kind of. It was like more of like a hand wave. I guess they're on the phone. So like, I guess they're on the phone, whatever. Then I'm like, this was here. But I'm near Target today. It's been a fairly quiet day, I guess, because I've been asleep for the most part. But it's been a little bit quieter than normal. And I kind of appreciate that. But I'm like, I can't, walking, leaving early this morning, I went, it's fairly quiet. So I was like, oh. Then I tried to I went to the MTA. Went in, it was pretty quiet. I turned around and I was like, when I first walked in, because I thought I heard, and it kind of played to me turning around. So it's like, so yeah, let me walk the other way. Let me try to avoid. Right? Then I was like, let me go ahead and try to upload a few things and finish because I still haven't gotten the final agreements in self that, hey, we're doing the right thing, you know? And I'm like on the stairwell, kind of noticed somebody moving there, moving here. I was like, okay, well, maybe they just moved to the other side to. And I brought up to one of the guys, I was like, it's kind of, when I say kind of messed up, how, how old New York used to kind of say what they want. I mean, not say what they want. Say it to your face or say it loud enough because he kind of yelled. And I was like, When he, after doing some type of behavior, I was like, okay, maybe I'll say this and it'll kind of jog for him to, bring something up or say something. But to then to no avail. The guy comes down, he talks to him, and walk off. And I'm gonna go to go somewhere and get a better Wi-Fi signal. So I walk to the office place, think something office overture or something. I don't know what it is. But I went to like a cafe place. But I think it's one pen or something. Nothing. I mean, I kind of get some feedback, but I was like, it's kind of typical. So then I leave there, going to the little park or the cafe area, and I stopped by Target because I was like, wow, I know Target had Wi-Fi. Oh shoot! So I paused there for a second, and sitting there trying to like finish my uploads. So, like, if it just uploads real quick, I'll probably just go to Trader Joe's and come back home. So then I go to the little square up there at, I think it's like 7th Avenue. So I go there, I think it's like 37, not 37, 7th and 30, go down about 33rd, I think. And I'm sitting there like, okay, let me use the Wi-Fi here. So I sit for a minute. There's people next to me. And they're like, okay, here we go again. People kind of walk by and they do the same. They pretty much have it down. And that's what's scary. The whole play and give back and do and say. And I was like, I'm like, I'm about to lose my mind. Just like, you thought people would have more, or maybe I'm like, I keep want to hold out. Like, nah, they're just pulling my leg. Like, they know X, Y, and Z, and they're not going to be hit with the truth and then still choose not to follow the truth and just be like, bump that to say face and go else. I'm like, nah, that wouldn't be right. I'm sitting there like, okay, whatever. So, just trying to focus on what I'm focusing on and getting some work. I was kind of happy because I was like, at least the uploads are going pretty fast. So I was like, just in case I have to, because the part of me is not really believing the fact of the situation being resolved correctly. So I'm like, something in my heart is just telling me, as much as you want to have faith and you try to have faith and you da-da-da-da, and I'm kind of like in battles with him again. I'm like, hold on, now. As much as we this, that, and the third, I'm like, but I should be smart. Because I'm like, last time it seems as if we all could have gone this way and we chose to go that way, the more difficult route. You know what I mean? Like the more vigorous route, the more, I guess, where people, I don't know, can have fun or I don't know, but or not have fun or this I can do this or this person can be that person that can do this, and I'm just like, So I'm having like a little lack of faith of people. More a good. I mean, me and God are still kind of cool. But like God, when I first came here, you were all types of. Oh, that was a good honk. But you were all types of. I wouldn't say the B word, but I pretty much was like, like you know my heart, you know the type of person I am. What the are you up to? You know, like seriously, like, and I have to hit it before stuff comes my way. But I was kind of like really taken. I was like, okay, you know, I kind of know I feel this way, and blah blah blah. We're not gonna go into that because already kind of things already kind of established. But I'm there, and people are doing this different, almost like play on what somebody else is saying. I'm like, whoa, and it's kind of like, huh. But then it turns to this whole combative type, almost like when I posted something of somebody, it was like now all of a sudden we had to go back to get it. Or now all of a sudden we were like, oh, team this person and oh, team that person. I'm like, why can't it just be team honest? Like, you did this happened, be honest. You know what I mean? Like, at first I was like, oh, I think I posted of, I don't know, I kind of look at my thing. I think I posted of like me, one of my neighbors. Yeah, I think I posted. It kind of got where it kind of started picking up. I'm like, oh. Then I posted because I gotta protect my. I want to have kids, right? I want to live my life. I want to kind of do everything I should be able to do with my life. And I'm like, I don't want to think because I don't want nothing enter in my head. So I'm trying to keep centered on what I'm thinking. So I think, what was it? 2 hours ago, I put like, um, go all the way back. Everything kind of uploaded from the past. Like I put something about NYCHA, put something about like I think the police officers and kind of some of their antics. I put like me trying to resolve a noise and was this stop something. I stop and safeguard from discussions, talking about the kids, and where I still have to put another conversation where I really tried to stop, but I don't want to put that up there just yet. To see if somebody would be honest about that. The chatter at Apple, at Bradhurst, um, even one about some people that were doing work, right? And I was like, then it started the ping pong, and I'm just like, you know, like, oh, we gotta say. I'm like, well, if people are trying to save somebody, you save somebody the right way. To say, oh, let's do the right thing. Wouldn't you just like I even said this a long time ago, put like $1 in a hat? Oh shoot, snap, we did this to the wrong person. We got X, Y, and Z, and we're sorry, but here you go. You know, don't even bring this up to nobody. And I'm like, oh, you know what? Because you may not have been directly involved, but you aided and abetted. And I don't want to get you in trouble because you didn't know what you were doing, or you don't want this bad to happen to you because you weren't the main figure. I probably would accept something like that. I said I would have accepted something like that because I'm like, you got a lot of people that probably might have known what's going on or didn't know what's going on or think they knew what was going on or had the wrong idea. And I'm like, it's not fair to them. You know, it's not fair to people that actually wanted to do the right thing, but may have thought they were and weren't, wasn't. Or the person that's like, oh, I kind of had you all wrong. Like, right, like you did, and I don't want to hold that to the wrong people. You know what I mean? And with everybody running around telling me they're this person or they're that person or I'm this or I'm that and I'm da 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 da. I'm like, huh. So we're near the they continue, and I'm just like, I even did a little. Um, I know I wanted to do a gesture to see. I was like, let me try to. It's not participating. It's kind of seeing. Because then I was like, let me stop because I don't want them to think that I'm kind of doing this go back and forth, go back and forth, go back and forth. Because I'm not. I'm trying to focus on what I'm focusing on. You're pulling me into your stuff. So I'm like, and if it's to showcase or to show, bravo, smart. But if it's not, and you're still, I'm like, disgusting. You know what I mean? Like you can invest that much time in something versus X, Y, and Z, which has me to believe, like, did you really do something? You know, because I'm like the stuff, how it sounds, the stuff that was said, the people in the hallway, there was a lot of stuff that was done. So I'm like, was this stuff really done? Wow. Couldn't be right. Nah, not really done. Like people wouldn't sit by while something like that occurred, right? Like I didn't. I did courtesy checks. I called. I told people like, yo, something's not right. Da, 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 da. Like I did all that because I felt like I knew that things weren't right or something wasn't at all copacetic to a very conducive and correct environment. So I'm sitting here like, okay, kind of like I talked to the neighbor the other day. I was like, something almost like, and people get scared and then, oh, he got these people got involved and these people got involved. Well, technically, you get like they even give you a grace, which I'm like, if I was working and I was in somebody else's shoes, you probably wouldn't get that grace with me. I'd be like, look, you get to do A, or we're going to do B. And it's not going to be no, oh, we're going to wait and let you, no, you're not going to fix no cover up. You're going to go, you're going to do the right thing, or you're going to get in serious trouble. Just point blank, period. It ain't no, we're going to try to make sure you come out with your name and your dignity intact. Like, no, you've messed up. The biggest part of being somebody or anybody is willing to know when to suck it up and say, I made a mistake. That's called being a big person. That's called growing up. Like, oh, I thought it was you. I was sure that it was you, but it wasn't. And we really messed up. I'm like, oh, you did? Yeah, we really messed up. But I know X, Y, and Z. So I went out and we hit it hard and we got up this and we can try to give you that. And, like we don't even have that much money, but we got this, that, and this, because we knew all you really wanted was X, Y, and Z and to see things go in a better direction for everybody and to kind of have your own kid and start your own little family life and not really go through. And when I say see things for the greater good of everybody, right? And I said this earlier this morning. This is why I'm still kind of confused. Like, so if somebody's intentions are that good, and even in the middle of their intentions were still that good, like knocking on people's door. At first, I'm like, yo, it's somebody da 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 da. Can you please get your kids to make sure they're away from the walls? Or do you hear this noise? Or can you come by and have a mediation? All the different steps that I took to make sure things didn't turn inappropriately, getting a transfer, um, like when I left my first apartment, doing all the stuff myself, making sure I left it, and it was still, when I say that apartment, I was like, my G, that apartment should have had a quick turnaround. I was like, despite everything that I kind of went through, and I'm like, wow, I'm a good guy. I gotta give myself a pat on the back. I'm a very good guy. I don't know too many people. I think that would have been in my position and went through all the stuff that I went through and not probably been in jail or seriously hurt or hurt somebody or in the hospital because they tried to hurt somebody. And I'm thinking like I give myself a pat on the back I really do. Like, tremendous. Especially all the times that you heard this or heard that, and you're trying to verify with this person, like, is this really going on? Okay, it's not cool. And then somebody keeps bringing it up and keeps trying to change it up and keeps trying to switch. And then you tell somebody that the very important thing in your life is like everybody greater good and your mental health, like your health and your mental health. So you're like, I like education, I like this, and I'm like, on several accounts, you've kind of taken that and going in your own direction. I'm like, I came back. I'm like, I'm just trying to get I even told him at Family Dollar, I don't want to replace you. I don't want to come in here and be not replace you. I don't want to be a manager. I said, I want to be assistant while I'm in school. Point blank, period. I'll probably work because he's doing like full time during the week, probably take 2 or 3 classes afterwards, maybe one online in the weekend, and knock that out until I finish in a year and a half. That was my overall goal. And because it was like, I forgot, like literally, I came back, I forgot for a little bit until somebody reminded me by the initial first dream. And then somebody was like, oh, I have these friends over at the pizza place and da da da. Okay, cool, whatever. I don't know what that means. But, and then my ex called out the blue when I just got back. So I'm like, all these events kind of took place that were kind of weird, kind of going to meet people and like run across the same people. And you're sitting here like, out of Big Knot, New York, like you're being taken on this roller coaster ride of old events, repetition, and meeting people that you haven't necessarily been accustomed to or met or been in front of, and they're going off of or seeming to go off of something that happened that you weren't necessarily privy to the reasoning of until after the fact. Like, okay, well, that had to be it because when I went to whatchamacallit, they were acting like this. Then all of a sudden, they're trying to switch up and people are trying to cover, or at whatchamacallit, we were doing all this, then all of a sudden it switches up and we're trying to act like that. And then at first it was like, what? Like, your people, and it was, one of it, I guess Spanish people tried to do a little something because all my neighbors were Spanish. And then I remember getting apologized in the store by some Spanish dudes, like, oh, they didn't know. And I'm like, that's weird. And I'm like, then it goes back to your people, then it goes to New York City, then it goes to, what was it, HRA too. Then it went to gay, then it went to homeless, then it went to, like, the shelter, I think was like last time, really, right? And that was the big thing last time. And I was just like, you go through all of that, and then you come to this point where somebody's sitting like, oh, and all that information came from this one guy, and somebody was cashing in, and you're sitting like, what type of person could sleep at night off of that? That is not the type of person that I would want if that is actually in fact true. Because I'm like, you think about a person that can sleep like doing somebody like that. That's the type of person, if you were like in one of them Armageddon movies where you had to wait on several people to come to a door, a vacuum sealed door, they're going to vacuum seal that door and not wait on you. They're going to be like, well, should have been here. And then all y'all show up at the last moment, banging on the door like, bro, let us in. And you're like, oh, I can't risk it. Got like 10 seconds left. And, I don't know. I probably would not be able to latch it shut. And so I'm just going to, I actually got 30 seconds. And yeah, I know that you guys are here. But if I open it, it's a chance that something could happen. So I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Sorry. But I do have my family here and we're safe. And that's all that really matters. I'm like, and y'all be like, about to go at state. Well, at least we got my family. We just have to sleep with maybe our sons and daughters will sleep with each other, and we'll be fine. Like that type behavior. And I'm like, why would anybody really back that if you didn't really have nothing to do with something, or I'm not a major part? Why not say? yeah, that's what we were doing. I would have. I'm like, oh yeah. Well, somebody was telling me something to do something, and I really didn't understand why. But I was like, I guess since everybody else is doing it, you know what I mean? Maybe it's for a reason. And so I did it. I'm like, oh, thank you for that bit of honesty. And actually, somebody did. I need to go through my recording because somebody did. I forgot. The store clerk did. And I was like, thank you, store clerk. And that was supposed to be, well, everybody kind of already knows now. They call them South F, whatever. It's kind of weird. But, yeah, they know because I'm like, you already called it out. And that's the bad thing with it. So, and other people have, honestly, in their own way. And I'm like, it's kind of like all these different people. For instance, I'm sitting there like, what? Like, are y'all really going through this? Then I went to Trader Joe's and started walking around. It was fairly quiet. It wasn't that bad. Walked into Trader Joe's. I wonder was it around? I was probably a little bit before 11, so maybe they had the hotel or something. And like 11, they go down to the bottom, and then maybe when they close breakfast, they try to find out where I'm at, if I left, I don't know. But I left at Trader Joe's, and I'm only speaking into the microphone, so anything I say is not to be taken out and used in any other conversation. I have to make that known. I went to Trader Joe's and try to figure out what I was going to get. Because I didn't really have too much money, but I was like, I need to make sure I have enough to last me from blah blah. So I go and I'm like, I'm getting my stuff. It's not really too much conversation. It's a little bit. And then when I get to register, I decide to do like the ring thing, right? And I kind of hear some feedback. I'm like, okay, I know somebody hear feedback because it could be at the ring, but then I was like, the ring was really silent. Really silent. And I was like, okay, I ain't gonna say nothing, So then I did it a little louder. Or no, I think I did 3, did 1, and I did like 3, and I did like 2 loud. 1 loud, and then 2 proceeding. And just to kind of see the reaction. So then I go to the lady, we check out, talk, and I'm like, oh, yeah, and I forget what I say to her, but then I go and talk to the manager again. I'm like, okay, let me talk to the manager again, because if she doesn't know anything that's going on, I just want to kind of make it abreast to the fact of maybe when I come here, I need to have somebody pay attention or look, because it's not a smaller store like Jack's, you know what I mean? Or like 7-Eleven or Target or anything like that, because I've already made things aware to several store managers to where they should kind of know when they see me, like, oh, that's the guy that said something weird was going on. You know what I mean? And I went across people before to where they probably see me enough to say, oh, yeah, that is. Every time I come here, I do notice this kind of weird behavior. And they can kind of make me know. But anyway, I tell the new manager, she's like, well, I know the other guy. I could probably just talk to him to see if he knows that. I was like, okay, cool. And I leave. Then all of a sudden, it's like kind of cranks back. And I'm kind of talking. I'm not talking. It was silent. This was a silent morning. Like I was kind of walking and not really saying anything. And I had my mask up on my way back. But still, it was kind of like a whole play on either actions or if I'm looking at something, I can kind of feel something being said. And it's just, I'm like, okay, that's weird. But I'm like, whatever. I'm not really too bothered. A little bit irritated, but not too bothered because I was like, but then it goes to where it starts. My thoughts are kind of like, whoa, because it's almost like you're having a conversation and you don't talk to people like that much without it being weird, right? So you're having a conversation almost in your head, right? So you're like, oh, this is kind of, at least I have somebody, because everybody's kind of like, what? Being either told what to do or the conversation's weird because it seems like they're trying to prove something and it's not like they're really being as normal. So I'm like, that's kind of where I figured the isolation would come into play. And or either the bad thing was kind kind of said, loosely said, to kind of tie to make people not want to, so that way you're kind of like able to kind of keep this person in that um, little bitty, what do you call it, um, case or whatever, where they're separated from people. And then whatever, it's kind of going fast, started speeding up, and I was like, oh my God, because like my thoughts are just, are going a million miles an hour, and I'm kind of like, looking around and trying to like separate, yet I'm like, hey, you're in the conversation in your head, right? Like, it was more like a thought, because these are in your head, right? So it's not a conversation, it's more of a, should be a thought, shouldn't be two-way, unless you're like, cool, two-way. And then it becomes into this other, like a three-way. I guess because somebody does something in conjunction with it, or somebody notices, or somebody says, or somebody moves, or somebody behaves, or somebody does, and you're just like, that's a lot. So immediately it's like, I come back here, and I think I spoke with somebody. Oh yeah, I did. I spoke with somebody. Then I came here, and I went upstairs, and then that thing happened where I kind of make the sounds and stuff just to see. And I did hear when I came back down here something that was kind of along the lines. I was like, here we go. You know, like not like I was actually thinking of doing. Well, I mean, I guess in a way I kind of was, but not going through with it. Just kind of putting that thought there to see. So I was like, let me see what happens if, and let me incorporate somebody into it, but not really. I'm not pulling this person into it. I'm thinking in my head and making a sound. And all of a sudden it's like they knew. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Kind of weird, but hey, it is what it is. Start making a and start thinking, but not really saying it at first, only afterwards, right? After enough time of silence. And so I came back down, finished eating. I was tired because that kind of took a lot out of me and just went to sleep. And go back up, same kind of voice that sounds like something talking about something about looking out, and I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. And you hear like all these amounts being passed, but it's not to where. So I cut on the TV. As a matter of fact, I think I should have played it on the recording. I might play it on this recording. I did this. I went and started to get my feet done. I need to pamper myself more, but you go right here, and I came back, and this is when I came back. That's me right now. I wanted to watch this movie, so I think I put in a movie. I think you can hear the movie there. I think it's when I put it on. That's when I was still doing. Oh, that's when I was watching. So the movie was cut on like right here. Came back at 8. That's kind of fast. But I started watching. But the theater remote in my hand, so I'm doing that and fixing the TV, and I'm like, okay, what is that weird conversation about money again or something? And I'm like, okay, well, they're not talking directly to me, so nobody's talking directly to me, and I'm like, that's weird, because I don't really know too many people around here that were around where I was at, right? So I go here, eat, finish eating, kind of over it, do some more post, lay back down, go to sleep. Then I wake up when I'm still asleep. And I think I wake up, go use the bathroom, come back, start reviewing what I heard when I woke up. And I'm like, here we go again. And I start where we're at now. you're like, can I ignore? um, it's a lot easier said than done. A whole lot. Like, especially when, like I said, I brought up to myself too, thought push a long time ago. I was like, oh, I gotta know it's like somebody's pushing thought. Like, I'm not really thinking that, but it feels like somebody's pushing thought. And that's kind of like, oh my God, like I'm not thinking in that direction. Please don't mix. Like, I had this big thing about mixing kids and somebody making a kid cry every time, or making a kid make a kid crying sound every time. Like, I tried to pleasure myself personally, and I'm just like, whoa, so that's weird, you know. And then kids talking to me while I'm in the bathroom and this, that, and they're like, that's kind of also like a association type thing. So you got thought pushing and association, whereas certain events might bring up certain triggers or certain actions that you try to start will trigger certain things to do, and you're sitting here like, it's just a lot that you have to kind of go through and sit there, and for somebody to BS that many people is not good. You're starting off the relationship on the wrong foot. And I tried to pretty much tell somebody this earlier. I was like, if you want to be that person, or you want to be that individual of was it valor or honor, or where people like you for doing right or doing the right thing, you need to be honest. It's like, it gets you a whole lot further. You know what I mean? Like, you get looked at a whole lot better. People, especially dealing with something so fragile as what you're dealing with, somebody's going to want to know if you take it and go right or left. You know what I mean? Like, are you going to take it and we can count on you to make sure that you uphold the truth no matter what, even if it puts you in the hot seat? Like, sometimes you got to take things and think like that. Like, is this that for me? Because maybe the seat won't be so hot. Like, I thought, like, all these people that were coming around and doing this and doing that and doing that, maybe they were making the seat warm. So you have reasoning. Even like the whole giving something after the fact or supposed to give or doing that. I was like, think about it. Like, that would be your reasoning, right? It's like, and this would be your, we did this because of this, because of that. And we're sorry if people found out, but X, Y, and Z, you know, can't really hold us too accountable, or you can hold us accountable, or here's this and here's that, and we apologize and do stuff the right way, versus letting people kind of seem to cover or do all this extra stuff, or not making some form of statement of, we don't need that. Like, when I was at Mount Sinai, I was waiting for security to say, whoa, 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 what is all this? You know what I mean? Like, ma'am, can I help you? Do you need to go in or you need to go out? Are you waiting for somebody? Okay, because we need you to kind of wait outside the building. If you're not coming in, can you just wait outside? You know what I mean? Like, this is for people coming into the hospital to get seen. We're conducting business. This, that, and the third. Versus people standing around kind of commenting, unless they're doing something to prove something, which could very well be the case. But you have to establish or explain fact, especially when you deal with somebody like myself, because I'm going to sit here like you're dealing with somebody that's pretty much honest. So, or if you're trying to push all this other stuff about dishonesty or lying or not, or keeping a secret and not telling me exactly what part you're trying to keep a secret, or establishing truth or not, I'm going to analyze, I'm going to go through, I'm going to break down, I'm going to communicate with myself. If I feel I can't communicate with somebody, and I not say talk to myself, but counsel. Like, a form of communication can be me talking to the phone and then going back to listen to it to see if I can get something I missed, which is a form of like counseling, not really necessarily talking to yourself, but talking out loud to hear some of the ideas that you have to make sure they're very valid or not very valid. And that's kind of what I do, is I need to hear. You know what I mean? Like, you hear so many lies, you hear so many dishonest, so many distruths, where you have to kind of remind yourself, no, this is what I heard, this happened, I felt this was real. This was what happened, that is what happened. You're telling me this. Nobody has directly said this, even though the vast majority have stated. So I'm like, now the vast majority have stated this person did this and that person did this. Now, me having to go to them versus them come to me makes everybody's job hella hard. Waste a whole lot of time. So it's kind of like, imagine somebody coming and turning themselves in versus somebody having to be found out. People gonna be mad. You probably got other cases you could have looked at. You got serious murders. You got people that actually passed away. Not saying that this is not serious. Saying you got threats to life, terrorism, war going on. You got a lot of different stuff going on. And this is kind of like that because you're in a psychological war, like where people are trying to make sure the truth is spread versus lies, or you're not bringing people into stuff. Like, you have to sit there and you have to understand all these various facts, and you have to be real with yourself. Oh, and not to mention when I came back and whatchamacallit, I think spoke to me, and I spoke back, and it kind of nodded like, oh, now I'm, and I was thinking like, oh Lord. I was like, don't do that. I was like, don't, because now I'm gonna have to walk out, and if like, after speaking to somebody, because they weren't really talking to each other. I was like, when you walked out, you didn't say nothing, you were in front, and we kind of nodded, and you're like, oh, now I'm da-da-da-da. Yeah, and you heard that? Now I'm da-da-da-da. I was like, whoa. I was like, uh-oh. Like, what? Are we going back left or right? And then it kind of ensued, and you're sitting here, and you're like, what are we doing? Kind of what's going on? When is that person going to realize to show their true colors? And you must have done something way past that, because I don't see the point in doing all of this extra. Oh, we're trying to make sure you're okay, da-da-da, we're trying to test, and I was like, I already kind of got all that. I was like, well, maybe they're trying to test and do like a psychological study, match with this, and find out if whatchamacallit's okay, and if actual, these exist and that exists. So I'm like, okay, if that's the case, you should kind of talk directly, because what this is doing is people are speaking out. And I'm like, okay, if people are speaking out, I might as well throw something in there. And I know how to mix up stuff to where, like, oh, okay, maybe he's speaking the truth. I know how to, speak politically, and not necessarily hang myself up in saying something that I shouldn't have said. So like, oh, they're talking about, oh, what about whatchamacallit's real? I'm like, well, your government stated that they've seen UFOs, so it could very well be. Like, oh, did you really? Well, it has not been confirmed yet, but I could have possibly X, Y, and Z, and then we go into detail, and then we kind of further it down the line. Like, you never know. But somebody else just, yeah, and this and that, and this, I saw it, and then you shot a video, and then you didn't go there, and then I see it, look there, go right. I'm just like, okay, so hopefully nobody else hears that. And actually, I think somebody did, or people did, because I'm like, you had to, because when I left, you talk about this stuff like you've been told. And if you haven't had it explained to you, and you're just having people do stuff, it's like telling them. They're going to be naturally curious. They're going to be like, why? And then it's quiet, and then it's like, or loud, and it's different. You're in a different vibe, too, because you're in the middle of COVID. So it's like, oh, these are strange times in the first place. But now it's strange times plus that. So it's just like, okay. And like I said, you sit there and you hope that people will actually do the right thing and be more forthtelling. But to get that sympathy pull, and somebody else did that before, that whole, oh, woe is us. Oh, we can't even, I can't, it's so loud, and oh, and my children, and, and oh, or oh, our hall, and we got to make sure we don't want this, and that, and this here. And I'm just like, hun, it's already here. Um, I'm not trying to bring anything around. And if anything, that's not my type of MO. And you know what I mean? Like, I really try not to disturb people, hence the music, and hence me talking to y'all I think, first 3 times I tried to just, pleasure and not really do X, Y, and Z. But notice that my music kept messing up and kept cutting down and up loud. And I was like, oh my God, I'm waking people up. And I was like, and mama's right there, grandmother's right there. And apologizing and saying, ma'am, it's something weird. I even said something weird going on, like with my electronics. But then you have somebody calling out and doing and this. So it's kind of like you would deserve people an explanation as to why all of this occurred, and to sit and cop out and try to form other excuses based off this, that, and the third. You shouldn't, because you doing that is only going to dig the hole deeper, involve way more people, and cause way more confusion than you need. And you're like, oh, we're trying to make sure that such and such is okay. Well, why is somebody saying they're taking over the world? Oh, could it mean that they're taking over? And I keep hearing that. So then you need to actually state that. Because if there's weird stuff and I'm like sitting here like, okay, and you don't state that to me, I could be very well giving them the keys to everything, right? You never know. I could be sitting up here aiding and debating and don't even know it. Like, oh, I'm up here with 9, and he's sitting here trying to figure out the inner workings of man. And I'm like, oh yeah, let me put on TV, and you know what I mean? Like, I was learning like Spanish at one point. Let me see if I can learn a little Spanish. Maybe they're learning Spanish. I'm like, oh, let me see if I can, go to school. Maybe they're going to school and learning biology, or I'm going to the hospital now and they're going to the hospital with me. So they're like, so this is what y'all do to me. So y'all stick them and you give them stuff through an IV, and this is what medicine is about. Probably going away and watching those out. Okay, well, this person has such and such, so we're going to do a triple heart bypass, and this person has X, Y, and Z, so we're going to give them penicillin, or going to give them a shot of zithromycin gel or something. I don't know what the heck stuff is, but I don't know if that's a gel. Or Bactrim cream, or we're going to go ahead and give a sedative to put them to sleep so we can have surgery. And it's like a whole bunch of different stuff that you could very well be going on because you're not really being informative on the situation. And you're trying to do everything yourself. Like, even from the whole uploading and my stuff being on, like today, age restricted. And I did age restricted to see the account. I think this person knows that because I thought it. I was like, I did age restriction only so that the person has to log in and verify the information. Because typically, age restriction, you have to try to verify something through something. So I'm like, so they're not going to click on age. They're not going to click on the age verification, because basically, I think YouTube now, and I'm looking through it like, no, everyone but the ones that say age restriction. Age restriction, age restriction, age restriction. And those are the good ones. So I'm like, that's kind of weird. No views, no views, no views. Oh, 1 view. Bathroom. Hold on, let's see the other one. Oops, excuse me. That's then it says age restriction 3 views AM, which was on 4 days ago. Age restriction no view. Age restriction 1 view 5 days ago. This might be somewhere completely, because sometimes you have people that just kind of browse in. 7 views, 27 views, 11, 12, 15, 22, 24, 50, these are not age restriction. Those are just regular views. 52 views. 67 to 110. I think age restriction. Oh, we have an 8 on August the 11th. 8 views on age restriction. So typically that means people that need to verify who they are, which is why I did that. And they go way back. I don't think that age restriction on other ones, but they weren't. You see 17, the thought did differently with commentary in the background, 4 views, 30 on August 7th, 29, 22, and several other ones. And usually when people view stuff, they're going to read the comment. Someone forgot, say, do your jobs. 199 views at whatchamacallit, and that was the one at Justice Department. Not meaning that they're actually looking, that just could be a good title. But see, somebody would play you and be like, oh, that now they're watching now. So we can't do the right thing. Only because they want you to continue to do the wrong thing, probably because they made something out of the whole debacle. Then you continue down, 9, 10, 25, 27, and you kind of sit here like all this other stuff, 21, 25, 38, all this other stuff is sitting here like, whoa, 13, 16, and then go to the channel because I just want to see how many, usually it shows like about, let's go to the about page, 6,214 views, which is like typically, I said, this is what folks do, don't hear. So someone told them not to take it because I usually what prove it though, but I thought, then why they allow harassment at school and Boston at hospital is what I said. I need to change that to put it back because typically I put it was currently being annoyed and harassed and whatchamacallit. So it kind of gives you some backstory, like my about me's on my other profile and my Twitter and my Instagram, which can be clarified, but at some point, somebody just right out the window, clarify to that many people, 6,000 people. Oh my God, we can't do that. You gotta keep going. I'm like looking, like thinking, like I know ain't nobody buying that. Like you can technically clarify. That's called the devil's advocate right there. Like, no. Come on, go back up there. Go back up. We ain't finished. Gotta go. Gotta say some more. Go up there and show me when you do this. Go ahead and show me how to do that. And I'm just like, baby, stop. Now it's funny when you say stop while you're ahead. That don't mean you're ahead of me. It just mean you're ahead of yourself. Like, don't dig your hole deeper, if you catch my drift. And that's pretty much where I'm at, is like the explanation. And if I am to X, Y, and Z, you gotta take into consideration what I'm saying and take it to the extreme sense. Because if somebody wants me to go back and do something to show something, to see if something happens, right? So you want me to go back and do something that I don't want to do, that I deem detrimental, but then you try to knock it. So you change that, you stopped, and you made it about something else. But then if I put myself back in that arena, I'm either going to do something a certain way or do something another certain way. Not saying I want to go out and just be a total smut and go against everything that I've basically said, but I want to, do something where I'm going to require privacy and such in that sense. Or it might not. Might just cook and clean and wipe up stuff like I've done before. But it's a catch-22. And then you also realize too, you have to be a lot more honest. Like, I feel like that moment of explanation and stuff has kind of passed because even if you explain, stuff will still continue on. Don't think it'll ever stop. You're going to have to where somebody tries it or somebody comes around after the fact, or, I have to go and I have to establish this and have to do that. People will come back. Hey, what's up? Da da da. Like, oh, no, 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 no. So now you're back. Like, where were you at the whole day? You know what I mean? Like, but see, somebody, I feel like they don't want that. Like, you remember when somebody was like, oh, trying to replace, and this is a show? Forgot about that part, right? So I'm like, it's a lot of stuff that was said that we forgot about. Cause remember, I was walking around and, oh yeah, I'm gonna replace, and this is, oh, that's lame, or oh, that's what the whole you funny part comes in. Because somebody was saying you're lame. It's like a lot of different things where I'm like, and I'm talking to the person that's sitting here like, well, let's just keep like, no, babe, you should. This is for you. You're like, oh, maybe they're actually taking it. Okay, if that's the case, well, y'all should send me a memo. There should be like a newscast. Like, wouldn't there be like something like that? I'm sure it would have been kind of picked up. And then, are you saying that because whatchamacallit said is going on other places? And then, even so, I'm not able to go to other places to see if it's actually going on because why? Because you're not being given what you should. And then somebody's like, oh, it could take up to another, whatchamacallit, to do an investigation. So, in that time period, what could very well happen? Are you fixing what probably could be like a psychological thing? Have you done anything to rectify it? Have you formed any conclusions? Was it really a this? Was it really a not? Do you need to form conclusions? Is it relevant or is it not? Should you say or should you not? Remember that whole replacing and show the later part? Because I always thought that too. I hope I be trying to get responses. I'm like, somebody out there knows. So I put it over here at the window for that. So maybe the same breath, you said that you wanted to try to replace it. I was like, wasn't it for like the later part, right? Like, oh well, this happens at this age. Like, oh well, cut it off here, and now we're continuing on. I'm like, oh, okay. But then you don't say anything to the person who went through all the crap in the first place. Yeah. Because he did everything that he really probably wouldn't have done or what he wanted to do. Is what I'm thinking. Like, it was my other guy. You got to do it. No, I would have had way more fun. I probably would have been, or definitely in a relationship. I know that one for a fact. That would have been number one priority. To be like one of these people that I dated in a relationship, even with maybe with the drug dealers. Who knows? You know what I mean? I'm not saying that they were actually were, but maybe with somebody that was or wasn't, right? So, or maybe it was just the whole ruse, or since it actually wasn't what you thought it was, but ha ha ha, you thought it. You know? But then after all the complaints and people saying, oh, we really don't get to all, or really don't get to do this, that's your